Hello, my name is Richard Santos, and this presentation is just going to briefly go over click agreements and just really the origin and how the concepts have been applied from previous years now to our modern day and age. So to start out, we're going to briefly go over the Electronic Signature Act, aka e-sign. Uh, like in the bullet points state, this act was signed on June 30th, 2000. And the quick explanation of it is just the ease of businesses to accomplish other business across state lines. And as it even states in the name and the act, it's the overall use of e-signatures and the different agreements that are required to be met dependent on certain conditions. So, of course, like I said, it was signed into law on June 30th of 2000 as the Electronic Signatures in Global and National Commerce Act of 2000 to make it easier for businesses doing business across state lines and in other countries to utilize electronic signatures and other forms of electronic documentation. This was enacted through Congress, um, and of course, the electronic agreements in these situations met a number of conditions or standards that are set out by e-sign for legitimate and enforceable means in court. And then moving on to the next slide, a Uniform Electronic Transaction Act, UETA. 1999, the National Conference on Uniform States Law passed by the UETA. Of course, 47 states had this approved by then. And both this act and the previous act provide standards for e-signature, and the conditions include the signer and their intent to sign through a click of a button. So, yep, in 1999, obviously, the National Conference on Uniform States Law passed this act, which had been approved by 47 states, and the UETA at the state level and e-sign at the federal level would essentially mandate and spell out those standards for e-signatures and e-documents, just to be treated as the same for paper equivalents. The condition that the signer would exhibit the intent to sign is met by clicking a button or just checking a box for indicating that consent and agreement. Furthermore, the signer's action of clicking the I agree button demonstrates their intention to sign the document as a legal form of a contract or e-signature, which works just as a binding contract for being enforced really in any legal manner. Uh, Next slide, there are certain guidelines for e-signatures, and of course, we'll just briefly go over that. There are types of evidence needed for enforcing click wrap agreements, regardless of whether or not the user expressly agrees to the terms of the agreement, when and how the user was informed of the agreement's terms and conditions, and the overall look and feel of the screen on which the click wrap agreement appears, which I will briefly touch on what a click wrap agreement is. It's just an online agreement that users agree by clicking a button. So, essentially what we've been going over. Usually businesses that can demonstrate that the foregoing is true are more likely to have their conditions enforced through the click wrap. So again, can also be used in the agreements may be enforced in court using like affidavits, screenshots, and other back-end acceptance records. Lastly, here are the references I have on this reference slide, and thank you for watching.